And when you talk about ego, and I'm just going to mention that ego is a very third dimensional trait. It's before you start raising your vibrations to higher frequencies of love, caring, non-judgment. And we were born into that, because if you think about times past, how did you gauge yourself? How did you gauge your success? Well, often, and for some reason, ego just enveloped you. And ego is a false feeling. It really is. And I think for someone, even if they couldn't see the benefit of forgiveness, if they would just be open-minded enough to maybe try something, to think, I've been doing the ego thing for a long time. And then you start thinking, who am I really? Why do I care about that? Why do I want to be someone I'm not for someone else's benefit? And that.
Welcome back to our show, Empower Your Life. I'm your host, Cindy Marie. Our next guest is a forgiveness expert and quantum energy healer. She believes that all healing must start with forgiveness. Her passion is helping clients or people to find and release stuck energy and emotions to lead a healthier and more abundant lifestyles, which we're going to cover in this episode. So, without further ado, may I welcome to you our next guest, Nicole Harvick. Hi, Nicole.
Hello. And thank you so much for having me on. I'm very, very passionate about what you just talked about in releasing stuck energies and forgiveness. And I'm thinking that in 2023, I really want to get my passion out there and just let everybody know how helpful releasing those energies can be.
Yes, and I'm truly grateful that we have this together. And of course, for you to share with us your story, your journey about forgiveness and something related to that, so people can get to know you. And of course, for people to get to know you, share with us your story, your journey, that relatable with forgiveness. And yeah.
It started many, many years ago in about 2013, where my journey really began with the forgiveness. And it's a common story. I found out that my husband was not being loyal. The way I found out was my daughter's iPod Touch was synced with his telephone, unfortunately.
Okay.
So everything came to her, and what she saw and what she showed me, there was no disputing that there was cheating going on. And Cindy, I was devastated. It's weird. You have hints and you have maybe an idea that something's not going on correct in your marriage, but when you actually see it with your physical eyes, it's like a kick in the stomach. I shouldn't have been blindsided, but I was, and I was not prepared for the emotions that go along with that. I mean, they're absolutely devastating. So once I found that out, I kind of went on a rapid decline in terms of anger, fear, scared, hurt, just almost every emotion you could imagine.
Yeah.
And so I took myself on a healing journey. And what I did is I started learning many healing modalities back then. I learned Reiki, to bring in the good energy, pull out the bad. I learned sound therapy, tuning forks, crystal bowls. I learned that to try to raise my vibration. And yeah, it was crazy. I learned about cellular memory and how to erase that. I mean, you name it, and I was doing it. And at the time, I was just doing it for myself. I didn't really envision this coming into play many, many years later. And no matter what I did, I couldn't figure out, I'm like, what is going on? I would cry all the time. I started losing my hair, and I would I would scratch my skin. I would itch, and I would just scratch till I would bleed. And it was actually starting to scare me.
Yeah.
And the way I found forgiveness is I took a trip to Hawaii with my girls and with some of my family. And I have guides that guide me. I'm an intuitive. I get messages from spirit. I get downloaded messages. Sometimes I hear it audible. Most times it's just downloaded through me. And I
Wow.
always check in before I go on my trips to see, kind of, well, what do I need to do? How should I proceed? And
Yeah.
the only thing that I was told was to feed the stray. I'm like,
Oh.
okay, can you be more specific? Or
Yeah.
but that's the whole point of just giving you the message. It's to see if you can understand, feel your way around it, and lead yourself to what your mission is. And
Yes.
with me, I always thought, a stray is going to be a dog, because we did a lot of work rehoming dogs, and my daughters and I were very passionate about, getting strays rehomed. And I thought, oh, I'm going to look for a dog.
Mhm.
So I got over there, and it sounds like I carried snacks with me. So I know. So I take it very seriously. So nothing seemed right. Nothing seemed right. I'm like, no, that's not it. That's not it. That's not it. So about 2 days before we were going to leave, and we were on the Big Island of Hawaii, and
Mhm.
we took a trip to the volcano. And
Okay.
it's always active. All the islands are made from the volcanic
Mhm.
volcano. So I was crossing a very deep ravine, and it was a bridge that was made of wooden slats and rope. And I thought,
Wow.
oh boy. So I heard, make an offering to the island. So
Mm.
I threw out, had like half a sandwich. I threw it into the ravine, and I kept walking.
Mhm.
And probably about, I don't know how far, got to the other side, maybe half a mile or so. I heard
Mhm.
this little rustling in the foliage. It's real thick over there, thick foliage. And I kept hearing something, and my daughter and I crouched down and we looked, and it was this little tiny bird, and it had a hobbled foot, and it was
Oh.
starving. So Maddie, who's my oldest daughter, she got down and she had some food, and she held out her hand, and the bird hopped up to her hand, and it literally ate out of her hand. And so
Mhm.
I do have pictures of that. I'm just like, boy, this is weird. I
Yeah.
heard, I heard you found your stray. So it was a little hobbled bird that I found, and that's what we
Okay.
fed. So I don't question. I just know everything's for my greater good. So
Exactly.
yeah, when we got home, I kept seeing this word, and I kept hearing
Mhm.
this word. All of a sudden, it's something I had never heard, experienced, or had any knowledge of. And it was
Mhm.
Ho'oponopono.
Oh, yes, yes. I remember that we
Yeah,
had a conversation.
yes. And I'm like, why do I keep seeing this? What is this? Why? So I started, researching and reading. And at that point, I'd been to so many counselors, and I had sought help any place I could think of that might help me. Women's group, divorced women's group,
Mm.
just whatever I could. And nothing was working. It was just, you tell your story and you're just reliving it. And there's a lot of anger in those groups, they for the
Yes,
wrong.
sharing.
So I thought, well, this isn't helping me. This isn't helping me. So when I saw the Ho'oponopono and read what it was and how to do it, my first thought was, oh, this is free. It can't be effective. And
Oh.
so I kind of shunned it a little bit. And I heard my guides keep saying, just try it, just try it, just try it.
Mm.
So I did. And I do a lot of meditation. And
Mhm.
that was another modality that I taught myself to kind of calm myself down. And I would just repeat the phrases: I love you. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Please forgive me. And
Forgive
thank
me.
you.
I thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would just repeat it over and over and over. And it was really strange, because it's like something melts away.
Yes.
They're they're very high vibrational little mantras that you say, but I started feeling like a darkness was moving out of me. And
Mhm.
I started, like, I could, instead of little short breaths, I could take deep breaths. And then I thought, you know what? I am going to envision, I'm going to use, visualization. And so I would pull my ex-husband up there, anybody
Mhm.
who had been part of that
Mhm.
situation of cheating, and I pulled myself up there. And I just, in my mind's eye, I would just envision them up there, and I'd start saying, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, and thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Oh, Cindy, it was so amazing.
I
It was
know.
like my whole world was changing. And I couldn't believe that in my mind that was so simple compared to the all the ways they were trying. Well, you've got to do this and you've got to do that. I'm like,
Yeah.
and that is how I started practicing forgiveness. And I pulled myself up there quite a bit and started forgiving myself.
Mm,
Because what I realized was, even though there's two people, it takes two, that
yeah.
everything I did at the time was with pure intention. I didn't mean to hurt anybody, or maybe I didn't have the knowledge or understanding of what he needed or required. I did the
Mm-hmm.
best I could. It wasn't
Yeah.
enough, but I had tried. So I forgave myself because I had put a lot of blame on myself, and I was very embarrassed that
Mm.
he had cheated on me. And
Sorry to cut you. How long the marriage was? Just for everyone to have idea how long it took you to,
uh,
work on that.
well, we had been together since 1988, got married in 94. So the marriage itself was a little over 25 years. It was a
Wow.
long, long
Yeah,
time.
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, I just continued to do that. And I just realized how immensely powerful what my guides had taken me to and given me.
Mm,
And when you love yourself, it's really
mhm,
interesting. You see things differently. And at that point, I learned compassion, you know,
mhm.
for my ex, even because I tell people I love him on a soul level because he
Yeah.
can't love himself. So it taught me
Mhm,
compassion. It opened my eyes to myself. And I
mhm.
thought, boy, if I can forgive, there's a lot of people out there that could utilize this. And that's
Exactly.
really kind of the story of how I learned about and practiced and the power of forgiveness and how
Forgive.
effective it is.
Thank you. So that reminds me of two things, actually. One is
Okay.
that after this, probably I'm going to practice my Ho'oponopono again because it's fantastic. I love that. And I truly agree with what you said. It just, especially if you have a keeping or what do you call it? Like, yeah, you're keeping something, anger within you. And when you do that practice, you will feel the heaviness. I remember that when I first tried it and it was so heavy. I had teary eyes, I cried. And then I realized that when it's too heavy, it means that that's how much anger I had within myself into that person until I let go. And then the second thing that reminded me was when my husband and I moved to here in Spain, and I told myself that to forgive myself and to let go of all the things that had happened in here in Singapore, I'm going to reach out to people who cause pain, who cause anger, but I'm doing this also for myself. So I reach out, and my reaching out is very, very, very quality in terms of I reach out to them via audio message because that's more personal. And I love to challenge myself, and that was freedom for me of letting go, moving from one place to another, that I don't have any regrets that I didn't try, and nothing up to them whether they're gonna come back to me, they're gonna reach out, but I have let go and I have forgiven myself. And this is why when we talked about in earlier when I met you online, when you mentioned about this forgiveness, and it's just like this is so powerful and we've got to talk about it more and more. And this is going to proceed to my question. What is really forgiveness is all about? And I have this, it actually made me curious, like, oh, I didn't know that there's such thing as fake forgiveness and true forgiveness. So help us to understand what is forgiveness for you and how can we identify the true forgiveness and the fake forgiveness?
For me, fake forgiveness is words and no action, and true
Mm,
forgiveness are words and action. And you can forgive someone without even saying a word to them. You can do it consciously through your consciousness and
Mhm.
release them. And I always tell people that what people don't understand is forgiveness is about you and for you, because
Mm.
you're carrying a burden inside of you, or a darkness or a pain that is embedded in you. And oftentimes you think you're deserved an apology, or someone should say something, and you're going to wait for an apology that might never come. And
Yes.
why should you carry that hurt inside of you when you're carrying their burden? If they
Mhm.
cared so little about you as to hurt you, attack you, or make you feel lower than you
Mhm.
should with their words, that's really not a person that's ever going to apologize, or sometimes even admit that they did it. It could be more like, well, you deserved that, because I've heard those words. And
Yes.
it's like a dagger, and we don't want to carry around that darkness. And so I
No.
tell people, forgiveness is actually very selfish, because it's for you. And everybody thinks anytime we do something for just for ourselves, we're being selfish. So if you want to categorize it that way, yes. But here's the thing, is that if you can practice forgiveness and take all those places in your heart and your stomach, wherever you're storing that memory of hurt or pain or anger, and you can
Mhm.
release that to the universe and transmute it, what you can do is bring in something of higher vibration. You can
Vibration.
bring in love, you can bring in happiness, you can bring in joy. And what you're doing is, fear is a very low vibration, anger is a very low vibration. When you replace them with the consciousness of higher, for the greater
Mhm.
good, the love, then you're going to start vibrating at a higher level. And
Yeah.
it's really interesting, because when I did that, what happens is, the people that you've known before, maybe you've gone out with, or you've kind of bickered with, they don't resonate with you anymore. They don't
Ex-
they don't have that connection. And it's almost like it's organic. They move away from you.
yeah.
And when they do, send them with love and light, because
Yes.
everything circles back right to you. And then you
Yes.
bring in more people that you resonate with, that you find
Yes.
more in common with. And it's so interesting. I've found that with forgiveness, it's created a whole new mindset for me.
Mm.
I when someone annoys me, or even uh, cuts me off in traffic or in the shopping center, I will just say those four little phrases under my breath and send them off with love. Because I, you know, when you are in forgiveness, you have to put your ego aside. You truly
Yeah.
do, to be in true forgiveness. The ego goes by the wayside. And when you do that, things like that are much easier than confronting someone, because we always make up a story about, oh, instead of, maybe they're just having a bad day, they're rude, they're arrogant,
Mhm.
and we really don't know the story. In some cases, yes, that's all they are. But in some cases, maybe there's a hurt inside of them, and they're
Yeah.
carrying around something that they're bitter about, or hurt about, or angry about.
Yeah. I love that because I remember I had this discussion, and someone once told me that this person didn't feel appreciated. So I asked myself, okay, instead of, felt being judged, I took my place into more compassionate and more curiosity. I asked myself, okay, how can I handle this situation? Because it will have an intensity level of conversation in the beginning, and then I remind this person that, listen, I have no place to judge you. I'm in a place of love, compassion, and serving you the best I can. So I truly believe with what you're saying, that when we practice and practice more about forgiveness, about love, about compassion, I don't know. I mean, it feels so light. I've been doing that. And whenever I have this conversation with my husband, I always remind myself and him that, but we don't know the truth. So we can't really judge people. Um, let's just put always out of curiosity, because curiosity is more wondering, right? So,
Right.
and it's beautiful that I think Yeah, the selfishness, I guess a lot of people have this different understanding about selfishness, especially in Asia. You know, we are raised to give, serve, and serve and serve more. And then we also been brought up that it will come back to us. But our understanding is that the moment that we seek for forgiveness, it should come back straight away, you know. But the reality, it might come back on the other side of the story. It might not be directly from that person that you'll be seeking, but from other people that, like what you said, people who resonate with you will show up, and those people who don't resonate anymore with you will slowly disappear. And I truly believe on that, because that's what's been happening in my new journey. So thank you for sharing that.
Isn't that beautiful? And you know, one of the things I tell my clients or my friends is if someone is possibly feeling unappreciated, what's going on inside of them that makes them feel that? You know,
Yes.
everything that is projected onto us is usually something from within them. So
Mm-hmm.
they'll need to figure out the why. Do I want to keep that? Do I want to release it? And how do I get rid of it? You know, so it's and one of the things I tell people too is that if we don't practice self-care, self-love, and compassion with ourselves, we're really pouring from an empty cup. And how can we help others? How can we make them feel better? Or how can we help them rise up if we're
Mm.
feeling low or not full or not
Yes.
appreciated ourselves? So it's to me, and I'm like you know, sometimes you were taught to feel selfish if you put yourself first. And you have to think about the fact that I'm trying to help others. I have to help myself first. You know, it's just
Yes.
like going on a plane. They tell you to the parents, put your mask on first, then go to your children. So
Yes.
we have to consider ourselves first. And that doesn't mean we're selfish. That means we're just refueling our tank to help others.
Yes. And to add on that, that we have to put ourselves first, especially with our profession, that we're serving people, you know, with that are going through. So we have to make sure that we have that enough energy, or else we will be, you know, overwhelmed with the challenges that we're helping other people. And we talked about it, remember,
I do.
that um, there are some other profession in what we're doing would have their own challenges, and it will be difficult if you haven't really released that, and yet you're helping. So this is an additional question that for other people who's doing almost the same as what we're doing, and they have this situation within themselves that they have to release. What's your suggestion on that before they can help other people?
Well, one of the things I tell people is that if you're not fully healed, or at least in the process of and recognize what's going on with inside of you, you're not being true to yourself and you're not being true to that person. It's really
Mhm.
not fair for you to carry around anger and judgment and then tell another person, oh, well, you need to release that. Because you have, for me, I have to lead by example. And
Yes.
it's not that I don't have triggers. I still do. You know, when
Mhm.
I hear one of my daughters says something, oh, well, dad said this. And if I get that feeling in the pit of my stomach, it's my trigger that I still need healing. So
Mm.
healing's really a lifelong journey of finding yourself, finding your triggers. But truly, you must be on a healing journey yourself. You don't just want to give lip service to someone based on what you've read that they want to hear or need to hear. that
Mhm.
that really is that's doing more harm than good.
Thank you for highlighting that. So for everyone out there, and it's okay. I think I'm the same. I'm leading by example, and by doing that, you have to have a. I mentioned this with one of my the interviews that I had. Set a high boundaries. It goes to being a coach and other things that you have. If you don't know how to deal on yourselves, it's like what you said. It's not fair to help other people. So thank you for bringing that out.
Oh, you're
Moving
so
on
welcome.
to moving on to the next question. I know you have shared this a little bit or more on this earlier about the power of forgiveness and freedom, finding the freedom, peace, and happiness. So I'm gonna not reiterate, but just adjust the question instead of the forgiveness. What people don't understand about forgiveness, that we use the ego instead, and it's still happening in this generation, that we keep on moving forward because having that emotion, seeking for forgiveness, is very difficult. Not everyone so willing to do that. So can you help us understand why it's so vital to learn the process of forgiveness so that we can have that inner peace and freedom and happiness?
Absolutely. And when you talk about ego, um, and I'm just going to mention that ego is a very third dimensional trait. Um, it's before you start raising your vibrations to higher frequencies of love, caring, non-judgment. And we were born into that because if you
Yeah.
think about times past, how did you gauge yourself? How did you gauge your success? Well, often with how much money you made. Um, there was a
Position.
lot, yeah, position, your car. There was a lot of deceit in the role you played, oftentimes. Maybe it wasn't quite truthful. And for some reason, ego just enveloped you. And ego
Mhm.
is a false feeling. It really is. And I think for someone, even if they couldn't see the benefit of forgiveness, if they would just be open minded enough to maybe try
Mhm.
something, to think, I've been doing the ego thing for a long time. I've been competing for a long time. I've been trying to be number one or have people look at me and perceive me to be
Mhm.
number one. And I'm tired. And then you start thinking, who am I really? Why do I
Mhm.
care about that? Why do I want to be someone I'm not for someone else's benefit? And that kind of leads to some questions for yourself. And while
Yeah.
you might not want to admit that's the right way, we can always plant a seed, Cindy, that will make, who are you doing that for? How is that serving you? How are those, the fake cars, the fake person, the fake galas you go to? How is that really serving you? And why do you
Mm.
want to do that? Do you really like them? Or are you just wanting someone to see you at that moment of that now in that position and think, wow, that's really cool. And then you get
Mhm.
home and you're because you're not living your truth, you're tired, you're depleted, you're disappointed in yourself. And all these questions start swirling about. So if people would
Mhm.
just take time to think, who am I and what do I want?
Mhm.
They might start realize the benefit of releasing all those heavy, heavy emotions associated with the fake you, not the real you. The real you, if you really dive deep inside of yourself and look around, I've not met any people that don't desire peacefulness, comfort within themselves. Even though sometimes they don't love themselves, they want to know how do I get there? Because the
Mhm.
feeling of love for other people is so comforting. You love your children, you love your parents, you love your pets,
Yeah.
but sometimes you don't stop to think that you're lovable too. And when
Mm.
you look at the pros and cons, you really were brought here to learn love. Love is the highest, one of the highest vibrations there is. And looking inside of yourself, getting rid of what no longer serves you and bringing you to the center point of heartfelt. When you feel that versus what you were feeling, it's almost as if you no longer have a choice. It's an inner knowing that I want to be me. I'm tired of playing the game. And I know that because I had to play it for many years as
Yeah,
a
I was
corporate
about.
wife. Oh my gosh. And it's like, I want you to wear this. I want you to wear this jewelry. You've got roots. Go get your hair done. Everything was superficial. And that
Yeah.
that didn't empower me. That made
Mm.
me feel lower and lower and lower. Like I'm never going to be perfect, but he really sees me as imperfect, telling me what to wear, what to do, who to talk to, and what to say.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be me.
Glad you said that, because you mentioned about the corporate life. I mean, that was me as well. That I've been transitioning my me from knowing myself, and then from changing to, okay, especially in the relationship, okay, maybe I could try this time to look for someone stable, that could help you, that could assist you, whatever. And then I realized that it's not right, and the most difficult is to get out of that. And I'm so happy I get out of that. And then also the corporate life, that I thought it's all about the position, climbing the ladder, all of that perks. But then one of the core values that I have that's so strong within me is that I don't want to be a bad person, that I don't even know how to treat people right, because that's too strong for me. I have a very strong empathy and compassion to people, and that's against me working there. So I left that job and really reflect, and here I am serving people, and it just doesn't feel like you're working, you serving, because that's just your truly inner within you that you've been longing for. And here you are, letting go, embracing the invitation that has been asking you, and the inner voice. And yeah, so for everyone listening or watching right now, we do believe that there always inner voice slowly or gently telling you what to do or what to say or what to take action. If we could just and I would say a lot of people actually very scared of getting to the unknown. And because this is so familiar for them, they chose to be there. And I have this conversation with a lot of guests in this show, that we tend to go to the comfortable, very familiar, even though it's not right for us. But because working on our inner self, the emotion is truly difficult, but it's what they always say, that it will come back to you sooner or later. So for me, I always do the things that, even though it's hard right now, but I know it's going to be worthwhile, because sooner or later I will feel, and I'm feeling it, feeling light, feeling the love and compassion. So thank you for sharing within that. And then of course the corporate, because we are all human beings. Doesn't mean that we are working on the surface. It doesn't mean that we don't feel the triggers and all of that thing. So thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome. And when you talk about fear is absolutely paralyzing. And you're right. We get in this comfort zone, and whether it's right versus or not, we keep doing it because that's what we know. And I always tell people, your magic lies on the other side of fear. Is, draw a fake line, you step over it and let your magic happen. And one of the things they say, fear is false evidence appearing real. For me, fear is the unknown. And when you take that step over that invisible line and cross from fear and you step over it, you're not sure what's going to happen. So it's unknown to you. And that is paralyzing also. And I can say that truly in the last, I'm going to say 2 years, I didn't know I knew what I was doing was right, but I didn't know on what scale to take it, because I was paralyzed with fear that no one would accept the fact that I was given messages, that how I was brought to Ho'oponopono. And now it's just, it is what it is. And I can't not accept that gift. And what I feel is that I will be brought to the people I need to serve. We will resonate with one another. And the people that want to poo-poo it, or your woo-woo, whatever they want to call it, I know that I was gifted with this. I know about ancient wisdom, which is what we're bringing back. And when I took that leap of fear, I don't know why I didn't take it sooner. I really wish I would have taken it sooner, but this was my timeline. So for me, and if anybody is, whoever's listening, fear is mostly just what's unknown. That's all it is. That's all it is. And you've stepped over lines. The first time you drove a car, you were scared. the first time you went to 7th grade and then high school, you were scared. And if you look back, everything that scared you, you've gotten through it and you're here. So it's kind of part of life, but just look at where you are. You've made it. You're fine. There's a few tweaks that might be helpful, but just take that step and let the magic happen.
Exactly. That's wonderful. And just remember, look back for 10 years ago. I mean, where are you at right now? And I mean, that's a long year to look at and to assess how much achievement, whether that's externally or more powerfully will be internally, how you changed, how you've grown so much. So maybe this is the perfect time to reassess your achievement, internal and external, 10 years ago. So thank you for sharing that, right?
You're very welcome.
So my favorite question that I usually ask would be about optimism, because I myself, very optimistic person. Everyone knows me as very optimistic person, and nobody can believe me that I wouldn't have any issue with all the challenges. I mean, of course, I'm a human being. I could still experience that, but this is not about me. This is about Nicole. Obviously, we would love to know, how do you keep yourself optimistic? And perhaps you could share with us as well additional suggestion that other people would like to experiment to keep themselves also optimistic.
Well, to me, that's one of the most important things we can do for ourselves is be optimistic. We're always going to go through good, through bad, through trends, through shutdowns, you name it. And I'm much older than you, and I've been through gas crisis. I've been through wars. That's always going to be part of this life on earth. But you have to acknowledge it and do what you need to do to stay safe, but you don't have to mire yourself in such bog. And a lot of times what does that is keeping the news on 24/7. Our news sources are not what people think they are. I think there's a lot of false fear that is projected to us on a daily basis. Such as the COVID. I know that was fearful. I've had it. But I refuse to play into that it was going to kill me. I remain very positive minded, but there are chances that something can happen. Take care of yourself. Use a lot of self-care. Instead of the TV 24/7, go into meditation and listen to the voices that will guide you to something. You're on a gamut of emotions here. So do you choose optimism or fear? Because the more you allow fear in, the more it comes to you. It's drawn to you because you're thinking about it all the time. Whatever you think, this is how powerful we are and how powerful your mind is. Anything you choose to think about on the inside will manifest on the outside. So for me, I'm going to manifest optimism in my life by my positive thoughts. And I've been very successful for that. And, I've taught both my daughters, whatever you go inside, whatever's happening on the inside, trust me, it's going to come to fruition on the out. And that can be sickness. If you think you're going to lose your job and that's all you think about, guess what? It's going to happen. Maybe not the next day, but somehow down the road, anything you think about is going to become your truth. So think positive, think optimistic, think happy, and know that for someone like me who's been through decades of this, you can come out on the other side. It might take a year, it might take 2, but just make the best of it during that. And if you can't go out for dinner, have a nice sit down dinner with your family. We rarely do things like that. And talk and turn off your phone. just look each other in the eye. How are you today? Have an honest question and answer session.
Exactly. Love it. I love when you, sorry, you're adding more.
No, I'm just saying that's so important. It's really simple things that we did years ago. We got away from it. Bring it back. Think about that dinner with your family.
Mm.
So that's my advice.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I think those are really powerful, and I couldn't disagree. I mean, to reiterate and subscribe more for the media or the news, even the social media, right? There are a lot of, I would say, curated content, and that causing us to compare, to compete. And reality is, I've definitely practiced optimism, because if without optimism, I don't think this Empower Your Life show will exist for turning 3 years actually next year. And for me, it's not all about what the social media or the media is trying to provoke us is to be addicted with the viewers, with the followers, with the numbers. But in reality, is that, do you feel great with what you do? Do you feel like you touch one person for this, say, whatever you're doing? And the more that we open up ourselves with this social media or news, the more that, like what you said, you're attracting that within your mind and your thinking. And I agree with that whatever you're thinking, it's going to happen with you. So for example, just to share with you my story, when we came back to Sweden, we had actually, we never thought about it, that we will have a delayed baggage, or luggages. And if I'm very negative person, I would really, really worry about it. It's like, it's okay, we're at home now. So we have all of our stuff. I just worried a little bit with my mic and my speaker and all of that I'm using for this show. But then I always keep myself optimistic that it's going to be fine. We're going to have it by my Monday or by Sunday. And we got it by Monday without no issue. And that's the powerful of positive thinking and positive mindset, because I couldn't reiterate more that if you allow yourself to believe in, the power of higher frequency and positive vibration, there's a connection within yourself that it will speak to it and tell, because we have a lot of billion of neurons here that communicate. And if we keep on communicating negative, you can imagine how much that could cost, right? So
Absolutely. And one of the things when you understand about manifestation, and that's just your inward thoughts or what you want to happen, all you have to do is, like you said, just, it's going to be here by Monday. Just have that in your mind and get out of the way. Because one of the things we try to do is control every aspect of everything. And there comes a time when you just have, for me anyway, it was just like, there's a power much higher than me, that knows much more than me, that sees much more than me. And then I learned to be very precise about what I wanted, to think it, to see myself already doing it, and get that feeling inside of me, that excitement of that's what's happening, and then get out of the way. You don't have to control that. The practice of surrender for me has brought me to a place of, sometimes it's just like, wow, I can't believe that happened. But then I say to myself, no, as expected, that happened. I don't want to say I can't believe it, because that's showing a lack, or, saying, how did that happen, when I know perfectly well how it did. So now for everyone, if something happens, just say, well, as expected.
Nice. That's something I learned. Wow, that's expected.
As expected. I got my speaker back and my mic back.
Yeah, absolutely. That's amazing. Wow, this is a great energy and so much of fantastic, valuable information for me and a lot of people that listening or watching right now. So Nicole, for other people who resonated with our conversation and would love to know more about your modalities to have this abundance and happiness in their life, where they could reach you?
All social media. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram, and everything's under my name, Nicole Harvick. I made it real simple so I could remember everything. I have a website up. I'm still tweaking it a little bit. It's NicoleHarvick.com. And if you'd like to reach out with an email, it's hello@NicoleHarvick.com. And one of the things I'm working on right now is bringing Ho'oponopono to life. And
Awesome.
so I'm in the process of jewelry that you can wear of the 4 mantras: I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, and thank you. And it's just a constant reminder. You can touch it and you remember to practice forgiveness, because so often we forget and we get caught up a little bit in that ego, or we get angry, especially this time of year. And you just remember, this too shall pass.
Yes, amen to that. And thank you for sharing the upcoming and very excited that modality, not modality, but this putting into a higher level of Ho'oponopono that you are practicing. And yeah, so I'm going to put that information on my blog. So nothing to worry if you didn't catch that out. And I have short and last question is that, so I'm pretty sure that you are practicing meditation.
Oh,
with
yes.
and it has been a very curious, interesting question from a lot of people that I know, that meditation is something that it's not working for me. What is it that really missing from those people who are telling that it's not working for me?
They are not learning to quiet their mind and still their body. And it is, to learn meditation, you can't just do it once, honestly, because I would lay there and I'd be like, I can't do this. This is crazy. And it takes time. It's like riding a bike. You do it over and over and over. And eventually you will be able to silence your mind. And the best way to do that is to use your breath. Always go back to your breath. And I lead a meditation class every Monday night. And so people are like, I can't do this. I can't be still. And I notice, I'm like, go to your breath. And the best thing to do, and I've taught this, is into, hold to, out to, and then start breathing regularly. But if your mind starts wandering, and it's, monkey mind, it's chatter. If your mind starts wandering, go back to your breath. Your breath regulates everything. My breath gets me to sleep at night if I wake up. It's really a very powerful tool. And you have to understand, in meditation, you're trying to lose things. You're trying to lose anger. You're trying to let go of certain things. And we're very resistant to that. And when you understand that this meditation is a form of self-love, and just giving you that time with your inner self, listen to your breath, let your thoughts go, rest your body. And I always do, when I lead, I do a lot of affirmations, and I do a little bit of NLP, which is neuro linguistic programming. And it's something as simple as just saying, you're worth this, don't you? You love yourself, don't you? And our subconscious runs 95% of what we do. So if you can start practicing meditation and have your subconscious pick up on just little words like that, all of a sudden you're not even going to know why that you feel so much love inside of you. And you look in a mirror and you're like, yeah, I love me. And it's really, some things are so simple, we make it so complicated. But with meditation, that is your quickest way to self.
Thank you so much. That's truly powerful. Everything takes time, right? So it's fantastic. Thank you so much, Nicole. And for everyone out there, once again, who truly resonated with our conversation, would love to know more of Nicole's, what she offers and her upcoming services or programs, reach out to her and don't hesitate to message her. And of course, if you would like to go in a deeper and meaningful conversation, just message her and she will take it from there. And of course, for this episode, if you find it very valuable, we would appreciate if you could forward to everyone who you would think benefiting for this valuable information. And the more you share it, the more that our Empower Your Life show will grow. And once again, I would like to take this opportunity to acknowledge you, Nicole, for this wonderful episode of talking about a lot of things, not only forgiveness. And it's all about the self-love, the love, compassion, forgiveness, surrender, and let go of control. So thank you so much.
Everything you mentioned will empower you so much. So I'm so glad you had me on today. Thank you so much. You are an amazing interviewer, and I so appreciate you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoy that interview, and I hope you find it inspiring and motivating. Remember, stay optimistic and keep taking action slowly but surely for your big dreams. Thank you once again, and I'll see you on the next episode here at Empower Your Life.